Welcome to The Truth, Dark Psychology, where we go beyond the gloss, the filters, and the perfectly rehearsed sound bites to expose the raw psychological mechanics behind the world's most admired figures. Today, we turn our lens on a woman whose image is everywhere, from luxury billboards to millions of smartphone screens. But beneath the perfectly constructed image, what really drives her? Is it power, confidence, or a suffocating fear of no longer being enough? In a world obsessed with flawless aesthetics, Gigi Hadid is seen as a living standard. But perfection, in dark psychology, is never just an outcome. It's often a defense, a response to trauma, and sometimes a cage. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment your thoughts as we peel back the layers. Let's begin. From a young age, Gigi Hadid was raised in an environment where appearance and image were currency. Her mother, Yolanda Hadid, a former model herself, passed down more than just beauty genetics. She passed down a mindset, a psychological orientation where being seen was survival, and being flawless meant being safe. Gigi didn't just enter the fashion world, she was born into its emotional code. In such an environment, control becomes essential. When you grow up learning that a stray comment about your appearance could determine whether you're accepted or criticized, your sense of self morphs. You become hyper-aware, self-monitoring every movement, every expression, every calorie. This isn't vanity, it's self-preservation through control. The cost? Chronic anxiety and a fractured identity. Psychologists define this as conditional self-worth. Your value isn't intrinsic, it's assigned based on how well you meet others' expectations. This creates internal pressure so intense that even achievements bring little relief. Every goal reached simply resets the bar higher. This is a classic psychological loop where success breeds anxiety instead of fulfillment. Gigi has spoken publicly about having Hashimoto's disease, a thyroid disorder that causes fluctuations in weight and energy. But notice how even her medical condition became filtered through the lens of beauty discourse. People online speculated about her looking too skinny, accusing her of changing her body to fit fashion trends. Even her health struggles were aestheticized, judged, and turned against her. In dark psychology, this is a phenomenon we call image cannibalism. It's when a person's constructed image consumes their humanity. Gigi isn't allowed to just be tired, sick, bloated, emotional. She's a brand, and brands can't have bad days. This internal conflict between the human self and the marketed image is fertile ground for persistent anxiety and identity erosion. Gigi's physical beauty is undeniable, but in the world of dark psychology, beauty can become a trap, especially when it becomes your primary source of influence. When people respond to your looks before they respond to your ideas, you begin to distrust your worth beyond the surface. You become a hostage to your image. This is especially damaging when beauty becomes the only validated trait. A girl praised for being kind, creative, or smart develops confidence rooted in self-expression. But a girl who is mostly praised for looking good learns to perform rather than to feel. Her identity isn't formed, it's assigned. And the only way to keep receiving love is to keep looking perfect. For Gigi, this translates into the constant upkeep of her appearance, demeanor, and public presence. There's no room for errors, contradictions, or even evolution. She must remain frozen in the version of herself that the world fell in love with. And that, paradoxically, halts personal growth. The person stops developing while the persona thrives. In a 2018 interview, Gigi admitted to not feeling good enough at times and questioning her place in the industry. That's the paradox of being both adored and objectified. The world celebrates your image, but rarely your soul. And after a while, you start to wonder if your soul was ever welcome in the first place. Dark psychology teaches that external admiration without internal grounding creates fragility, not strength. Gigi's outward poise masks the internal imbalance caused by this dissonance. She may be seen by millions, but how often is she truly seen? That invisibility, the inability to express the full self, is one of the most haunting costs of perfection. To understand Gigi's psychological blueprint, we have to revisit her relationship with her mother. Yolanda Hadid didn't just model behavior, she engineered it. In clips from The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Yolanda is seen monitoring her daughter's food, encouraging Gigi to eat a few almonds before a runway, and critiquing her weight. This wasn't coaching, it was psychological conditioning disguised as maternal care. Asterisk for children, especially daughters. Mothers are mirrors. They help shape how we interpret love, body image, and safety. When a mother communicates that love is conditional on looks, it etches a wound that rarely heals. That wound tells you, if you're not beautiful, you are not enough. If you're not slim, you are unworthy. If you're not perfect, you are a problem. Gigi absorbed that message. And as she ascended in her career, she carried that wound with her. The need to maintain a mother-approved aesthetic standard becomes internalized, mutating into adult perfectionism. She isn't modeling for herself. She's still trying to earn love she never fully received on her terms. This dynamic is what psychologists call parental enmeshment. It happens when boundaries between parent and child dissolve, and the child exists to fulfill the parent's unmet needs. Gigi, consciously or not, became an extension of Yolanda's dreams. And this emotional entanglement keeps her psychologically tethered to her mother's ideals. Even when Gigi tries to assert independence, whether through more candid interviews, motherhood, or career pivots, she does so with calculated caution. That's what enmeshment does. It makes rebellion feel like betrayal. And so, anxiety becomes the price of autonomy. You're not just afraid of failing the public, you're afraid of losing maternal approval that the fashion industry celebrates. Thinness, symmetry, and control. But in Gigi's world, those ideals have escalated into psychological obsessions. When maintaining your image is your career, every meal, gym session, and facial becomes a performance. And performance, by nature, requires suppression of hunger, of fatigue, of emotion. This is where dark psychology intersects with self-abuse. Gigi doesn't need someone else to harm her. She's been conditioned to do it to herself. What looks like discipline to fans is often a ritual of self-erasure. The overtraining, the caloric restriction, the relentless public engagement, these are tools of aesthetic violence masquerading as professionalism. This is not speculation. It's visible in the way she narrates her routines. I'm just really committed, she says. But commitment without compassion becomes coercion. When your body is your brand, pain becomes normalized, and suffering is reframed as strength. You push harder, even when your body begs you to stop. Gigi's experience reflects what psychologists call internalized objectification. It's when you start seeing yourself the way others do, through the lens of critique and consumption. Your body stops being a subject and becomes an object. And you lose touch with how you actually feel, because you're too busy managing how you appear. This disconnection can lead to long-term mental health challenges, anxiety disorders, eating disorders, depression, depersonalization. And the tragedy is that the more you suffer, the more you're rewarded, more likes, more deals, more applause. In a system like this, healing isn't just difficult, it's punished. If you're still with us, take a moment now, like this video, subscribe to The Truth Dark Psychology, and tell us in the comments, does society's obsession with beauty create more harm than help? Let's expose the game together. Praise is often seen as a gift, but in Gigi's reality, it doubles as surveillance. Every compliment she receives on her beauty, her grace, or her presence also carries an unspoken threat. Stay like this, or lose everything. In the realm of dark psychology, this is known as praise conditioning. when validation becomes the very thing that imprisons you. Asterisk, the moment Gigi deviates from what the public expects, the same people who praised her turn critical. Whether it's weight fluctuation due to illness or an off day during an interview, the response is swift, often brutal. This pendulum between praise and punishment keeps her psychologically trapped. It reinforces the idea that love is earned, never guaranteed. What does this do to someone's mind? It creates a state of hypervigilance. Gigi must constantly anticipate reactions, edit her behavior, and regulate her expression, not to remain authentic, but to remain acceptable. This over-adaptation is a trauma response. It's the mental equivalent of walking on a tightrope above a crowd that's holding knives and roses simultaneously. Social media only amplifies this. Every photo she posts is dissected. Every outfit, caption, and facial expression is analyzed. And behind every like is a silent expectation. Gigi knows this, which is why even her most natural posts are often polished, filtered, and branded. She isn't just managing her public image, she's managing mass perception. This constant pressure can cause what's known in psychology as imposter syndrome with hyperexposure. It's when someone widely admired secretly feels they don't deserve it, and any misstep could expose them as a fraud. For Gigi, this fear isn't irrational, it's structurally reinforced. Every post is a test, and every failure has consequences. One of the greatest illusions in celebrity culture is that fame equals fulfillment. But Gigi Hadid's story reveals something darker. That fame, when built on image and not essence, becomes a hollow shell. Behind every public success, there's often a private collapse. And in dark psychology, that's where the truth hides. At the height of her fame, Gigi was everywhere: runways, covers, commercials. Yet during this time, she began revealing signs of emotional fatigue. Interviews became more guarded, smiles less spontaneous. Behind the camera flashes, there was someone increasingly distant from herself. This is what psychologists refer to as disassociation through performance. When a person must repeatedly portray a version of themselves that no longer feels authentic, they begin to disconnect. The Gigi on billboards becomes separate from the Gigi in the mirror, and reconciling the two becomes an ongoing, exhausting task. Motherhood offered a temporary pause. With the birth of her daughter, Gigi stepped away from the public eye more often. For a while, it seemed she was regaining herself. But even that experience was quickly absorbed into the brand. Her parenting style, postpartum body, and family life became content. The personal became performance. Again. Fame has taught Gigi that she doesn't truly own her narrative. Others do: editors, executives, followers, algorithms. And the more she tries to control the narrative, the more it controls her. That's the tragic irony. In the attempt to preserve authenticity, she's forced into deeper layers of curated existence. The final question we must ask is, can someone like Gigi Hadid ever truly break free? Can she reclaim her body, her voice, her mind, from the machinery of perfection she was born into? Dark psychology tells us that awareness is the first step, but awareness alone is not enough. The system that shaped Gigi doesn't dissolve just because she resists it. The contracts, the brands, the cultural scripts, they remain. But healing begins when the person beneath the persona stops performing. And we've seen glimpses of this. Her openness about anxiety, her decision to take breaks from social media, her subtle defiance of fashion norms. These are small ruptures in a giant system, yet rupture is painful. Every time Gigi chooses authenticity, she risks rejection. She risks losing relevance, fans, even income. That's why so few public figures ever truly rebel. They know that the spotlight can turn into a searchlight. And when it does, it often exposes your wounds rather than your truth. Still, there's power in slowing down, in saying no, in choosing silence over performance and health over applause. These are not just personal decisions. They are acts of rebellion against an industry that profits from your pain. For Gigi, peace won't come from reinvention. It will come from release. Ultimately, Gigi Hadid is not a villain, nor merely a victim. She is a mirror reflecting back the impossible standards we uphold, the traumas we pass down, and the systems we quietly participate in. If she can confront that reality and survive it, she becomes more than a model. She becomes a warning, a revolution, a possibility. If this video made you think differently about fame, beauty, and the cost of perfection, it's time to act. Like this video to help spread these truths. Subscribe to The Truth, Dark Psychology, and turn on notifications to never miss a psychological deep dive. And in the comments, tell us, do you think Gigi Hadid can truly free herself from this machine? Or is she destined to remain its most beautiful prisoner? We'll be back soon with another journey into the mind behind the mask. Until then, stay sharp, stay aware, and remember, where there's light, there's always shadow.